to start the fourth and last part of our event today before we give the awards. So it's all about the sustainability and legacy, how to make sure that major international sports events are eco-friendly. I'm going to ask Georgina Grenon, who is the Director of Environmental Excellence for Paris 2024. I'm going to ask her to join me on the stage to tell me how, from the beginning, from the tender, from the application, environmental issues were at the very heart of the project, and how we managed to have the most environmentally friendly games of the history of the games, where the importance given to the issue was even greater than it was given in London and Tokyo. And then I'll come back with our awards winners. Thank you very much for that little sports session. It was great. You know, sports is not something you do only standing. It's something we should keep in mind. So I don't want to talk too much. You've heard a lot about the games already, but I just want to spend a little bit of time just to say that we had given ourselves an ambition for a very, very ambitious idea and target. We want popularity, but we also wanted to have environmental excellence and in terms of legacy as well. This is the reason why that today we are going to share with you the result of that. It's a little bit of a preview because we haven't published our report yet. It will be done at the end of the year. You will get a lot of information, a lot of details. We are ending this because you've heard about the Second Life issue is still underway. So we're gathering the entire information. But can you move to the next slide? But we do have a few clues, a few ideas that we can share with you. So we wanted to do with less, with a lot of less carbon, a lot less building, a lot of plastic used only one time, less weights, vehicles and fuel. And it's exactly what we did. So we talked about it and then we did it. So we delivered an entire magic, these incredible moments with a lot less. And why did we manage to do so? It's big. We actually ended up doing it better, and then with Emily, because we plugged all of the sites to the grid. We used the grid. So 98% of the energy that we needed was electricity, and that electricity was 100% renewable, which was a first. So we also made sure there was circularity for all of the games, as in everything that you saw. We tried to rent it or make sure that someone would come back and get them. So before the games, we had secured already 90% of circularity, and I think we are going to overachieve that objective. So we also worked to avoid waste. If you went to the different sites, you may have noticed that there weren't really waste on the garbage on the ground, that the garbage bins weren't full. It's because we had made sure to reduce waste as much as possible, the catering. So we served you food and drinks without generating too much waste. We worked on nature in order to protect it, to protect the trees. We also worked on redistributing all of the meals that could not be eaten, were not going to be eaten. And this is something that is already public. 600,000 meals were distributed after the game. So I don't want to spend too much on the various results. But in terms of legacy, I want you to know that we are leaving a village, the engineer village also, but there are a village that was built with 30% less carbon per square meter. New building technologies were used. We had methods, guides for the next events. Our legacy is also a climate coach for any kind of event that wants to understand carbon emissions and make sure to reduce them. There's an audit. It's free. There are more than 1,300 different events who've decided to use the same approach. So we are also, our legacy is the first eco-gesture campaign in the history of the games. There was the mascot all over Paris. It was displayed on the garbage trucks that said, well, use your gourd, use your own water bottle. This worked because we really wanted the people there, the audience, the spectators, to play their games. And this was very, very important. It worked. So we also now have 800 companies that are environmentally friendly economy worked with us. You know the different towels the athletes were using when they want to wipe their forehead. It was a solidarity kind of company. A lot of different things that were very important for the games to be a success were done by companies that are NGO kind of companies. Also, this river, the Seine, you can bathe, you can swim in it, something we can all use. And there are already 40 different species that have come back to the river because of that. So I don't want to talk too much, but we'll publish all of our results in December. So you can look at all of this during Christmas. So there are events, new coming future events. So because sports never stems, I just want to summarize what are the key success factors for the games. The fact that we had a vision. The vision was put there from the beginning, and it was maintained through leadership that did not let go, never stopped, encouraged us up until the end and said that we had to be ambitious and meet our objectives. There was also resources that for the first time in the history of the games, there was a direction for the environmental excellence that was reporting to the IOC. They were experts inside of the climate teams in the circular economy. So of course we had the support of consultants, but in-house we had expertise. All of this really helped us to actually integrate ourselves and make sure that sustainability wouldn't be something on the side, but rather something that was embedded in the operations, in the delivery. So that cooperation with all of the structures of the Paris 24 Games, but the territories as well, the various partners, the partners provided the innovation to make sure we did things differently, because if you want to reduce your impact, if you want to improve what your legacy will be, you need to do things differently. So we needed the innovation, and we needed the audacity to actually get them, hire them. There were a lot of things that we did that were first. So maybe it wasn't a first, but maybe it was a first at that scale. So you had, for instance, an example you see on the screen. It was the entire cauldron, which symbolized the games since antiquity, since antique times. We did it without fire, and it was electricity, 100% renewable electricity. Of course, when you want to change energy, transportation, catering, etc., when we try to change the models that follow during the games, you need to be very rigorous. You need to also assess your own results, and you need to be aware of what it is that you're doing, and you need also to adjust what you do, and then also communicate a lot, communicate with your teams, communicate to the ecosystem, and then again, closer to the event, communicate with the public, because there were a lot of expectations on their part. And then finally, this is my last slide, we tried to think about opportunities for the future, for events, for forthcoming events, the large ones, small ones. Well, first of all, we wanted to give ourselves objectives, ambitious and realistic objectives. We shouldn't go beyond our own abilities, but you also need to design the event while thinking about afterwards. The circularity issue is so important, yet it's so often neglected in events. And also make sure that you have a French team. I think we had this luxury, the fact that we had all these players that gave us our best, went the extra mile, just like the athletes do. And we really tried to engage before, during, and after. Just like today, with everything we do for giving everything a second life, and also make sure you use the event to change. This is what we tried to do. So we wanted to do have a more eco-responsible, friendly event, but something that is going to change, transform sports, different business. I talked about building, energy, catering, etc., etc. We really hope that what the games have changed is there to stay. And since you are actors and player in this, I want to say thank you. Thank you, because if you're here, it means that you contributed to the success. And then I wish you all the best for what comes next, and hope that the spirits of the games stay. Thank you very much, Georgina Grenot. Thank you so much to the teams of Paris 24 for all of this, because, as you said, you needed to have audacity, innovation, and we are going to hear from the companies, some of the companies that worked on the games, but not only that. So now we're going to welcome Catherine Lescure for Enedis, who is the Director of Communication and CSR, and then Marius Amlo, the co-founder of Le Pavé, and also the founder of Muto, who is going to tell us more about everything that they've done during these events. Thank you so much for to all three of you for being here. So go ahead. Take a seat. Thank you so much for being here at the end of the afternoon. I think if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up falling, and please do not laugh. So, Catherine Lescure, thank you so much for being here with us. You represent Enedis. We talked about the role of Enedis this morning at Méribel Courchevel, the championships, the role that Enedis played. But what about your role that Georgina just told us about the games that wanted to be more respectful from an environmental perspective? Well, we were trailblazers, as Georgina was saying, because no one knows, but up until now, when Olympic Games or Paralympic Games were taking place, or any other large sporting events, for the Rugby World Cup, for instance, that was organized here in France not so long ago, because it was just the way things were done. Event industry wanted to play safe. What they were doing is that energy would be produced by electrogen, so industrial devices that we use at Enedis for the network, in particular when there are shortages or crises on the network. It's just here as a backup. But what we decided to do with Paris 2024 right from the beginning, right when at the tender stage, also when we went to try and convince the IOC, we wanted to make sure that all of the games, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, the entire site would be plugged into the electricity grid. It was a first. It worked so well. The grid worked. There was 0 minute of breakdown on any of the events, and also for the TV broadcasting, but we'll come back to that. So this was a great innovation. There was a first, so you had to do a lot of work. I suppose that wasn't temporary, right? Exactly. So we did 4 years of work, 800 different sites of work. So it was anticipating on the grid. So usually the grid has a lifetime of about 50 or 60. We have 1.5 billion kilometers of electric lines in France. That is 35 times around the Earth. So in certain places that needed to feed electricity to the event sites, we reinforced we built the capacity of the site, so a double capacity around the Stade de France. There is a relay today. If there is a fault on one line, there's another line to take up. It's completely transparent for the clients, and for that we had to do work over a long period of time. Our teams were completely all behind that target. We became an official supporter to distribute electricity during the games. But our partnership in the end came after we had already decided that we wanted to do this really as our own business, our own profession. What I think was really awesome inside of our company is that the partnership, the sponsorship, the sports sponsorship was linked to so closely to what it is that we do. And internally, people were so proud and really wanted to mobilize to make sure that the games would be a success. So you talked about the network, the grid around the stadiums, such as the Stade de France. The energy supply will never work the same again. And as you said, with the TV broadcasting up until now, there was no trust in the grid, and it's not like that anymore. I hope it's going to last. Laurent-Éric Lelay mentioned it earlier. For large events, we really do hope that from now on, we showed that the grid can work. It worked. It was completely successful. We had technicians that were there, present in the various facilities at the ABC in Le Bourget. So we did huge work to make sure that the electricity flow was coming in. We had the teams from the Los Angeles came right after the games, right after the Paralympic Games, and we had two main distributors that share the market over there. They're very different from the French market. They came to look at what we did, and because the IOC has made the decision that the standard is that the standard is to work from the grid and to have low carbon electricity coming from the grid. So I think it's really the proof that we can leave something as a legacy. And so next time there is a big music show or a soccer game, the installations are there. Of course, it costs a lot of money to the community, so it needs to be leveraged. It's a great promise, but I believe the IOC wasn't too sure that the whole TV broadcasting would be done that way. Yes, exactly, because it was completely the contrary of what was done. It's true that in the US, they don't have the same quality of electricity provision that we do in France. We have a network that has 99.9% of the time the grid, the network works. In France, when you push the button, turn on the switch, you have light. But for that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And it's true that in France, we have an electricity grid that is hyper-performing, but it's the proof in the pudding is that the fact that the American networks are interested in what we did. So we are actually making some headway. The figures are there. If you look at the consumption, the global consumption, yes, you're right, 25%, 1/4 of the energy consumption was that. So lighting, anything for digital, but a large part of the electricity consumption was the television broadcasting, as you said, and it worked so well. And we avoided releasing millions of tons of carbon, something that people don't know that well. In London, for instance, they used 4.3 million tons of fuel was used. We avoided that. We made sure that didn't happen in Paris 2024. So Paris 2024 was very convinced of our goal. They were there supporting us, helping us convince the IOC. So if you have a lot of resolve, you can change things. And it worked, as you said. Marius Amo, you are the founder of Le Pavé that was created in 2018. So what do you do? Pavé is an industrial startup that does the transformation of waste material in panels. So we were set up in 2018. I'm an architect by training. What we realized is that we need to transition in the building area to lower its carbon footprint. And also the second thing is that we need to find ways to use all that waste, such as plastic waste that is all over the place in nature. So we tried to find a solution, and we came up with two new materials using 100% of plastic. I always have some in my pocket, so we have this one. This is fridge doors and also wrapping coming from the white goods that you buy at the store. And we have a second material that we use also for the games in the projects that I will say more about using using shampoo bottles, recycled top of the bottles, something that you would put in the yellow bin. We used it. We recycled it. Any kind of panels. There were so many different kinds there in the games. So how did you contribute? Where did you find them? So the company is very young. 2018 is the moment when we knew that the games were going to be in Paris. And what we thought was very interesting from the start was the baseline of the games, to say have the greenest games. And when we set up our company, we thought we really have to articulate ourselves with that issue. And there was a huge commitment. There was the specifications were very ambitious from the environmental point of view, which led the Bouygues teams of the Paris 24 and the Paris metropolitan area, the city of Paris, came in contact with us and said, with your little panels, could you do the bleachers, the seats of the bleachers of the Olympic swimming pool? That was right at the beginning. That side project that was over 4 years. So we really rose to the challenge, industrialization. So we really had to invent the industry that you could manufacture these panels that would be entirely recyclable, using entirely recyclable materials. So in the end, we had 3,000 bleacher seats for the swimming pool, 8,000 for the arena Porte de la Chapelle, and then for the Olympic, there was a whole circularity around the whole project with production here in the Paris area. Yes, we are based in the Paris region. We started in Aubervilliers. Now we have a pilot plant that enables us to manufacture all of the seats, and it's in Aubervilliers. This is really close to Paris. And so we really told a story that is a territorial circular economy story with the Olympic swimming pool, and the arena was right next to the plant. So the black plastic came from the collection of the sitcom that is in the Paris region. So this was really close, something very important to us, because circular economy can be scaled up to the industrial level and really help connect users to something that is very practical, to something, in their streets, in their infrastructure, in their daily life. So you talked about the seats, but also the panels for the podium. Yes, it was extended up to the panels that were used to build the podiums, and the idea was to always be able to have recyclable material 100% for all the stage material, and also help the user to be aware and really reconnect to waste and understand. As I was showing, for each material, there's the whole artistic idea to show the base material. So we were very happy every time there was a medal, because there was a French medal, but then also there was our material on the podium. So as you said, industrializing of the circular economy is possible. What do you think all of this proves? Well, I think it proves that you can innovate at the industrial level, and it's also an ecosystem, something that was implemented. We were supported by the ADEME with the BPI. There was a public procurement. The specifications were very ambitious. It enabled us to really show what our initiative was and to get the financing. All of this happened really quickly. We have 2 plants. We have recycled over 1,000 tons of material. So we have doubled our turnover in 1 year. So all of this thanks to a public partnership, thanks to all the supports that help us continue to develop. It's a great alliance of the public and private spheres. So Vincent Lebeau, you are from Muto. So can you tell us how you support large events? So Muto is a solution that is all about reemploying material for pop-up kind of material used in, it could be events, but it could be sports, it could be a fair, it could be a fashion show, cinema, anything where there is something that is set up for a temporary event. But you have like the signs, plastic, you have furniture, decor, you have wood, you have metal. So what we do is that we get all of this, we collect all of this on behalf of the organizer, and the idea of Muto is to make this with solidarity. We give it for free to NGOs that have a project. So it's more about all about being non-profit, humanitarian kind of projects. So we worked a lot, really well, with Paris 2024, in particular because something that was said in the introduction, because it was right from the beginning, we had thought about Second Life. So everyone who was a provider at Paris 2024 had to make a commitment at 90% to find some sort of Second Life or to rent it. They had to do this from the beginning. But we work on that 10% delta, but at the Olympic Games level, this is huge. So what did you get back? What did you get back collected? This is, for instance, this is the wood panels here, and you see, for instance, the pine. We're there to protect all the historical museums. We're putting all the historical statues and all the lightings that are well known in Paris. They were wrapped in wood to make sure that nothing was damaged. So it's several tons of wood just for the Concorde, Place de la Concorde. So this is, for instance, Place de la Concorde. You can't really show what I'm telling because all of this was rented, but it's a good example. But we worked with GL Events a lot because on the Olympic Games, there were a lot of different pieces of equipment that were put together and then were dismantled. So all of this was rented. So, but there were a lot of different places where it wasn't the case. So at the scale of the games, there wasn't that much waste. But if you look at the residual part, at such a scale, it means that we had to make sure that there was a safety network. So these wooden boards that were used to make a cover for the historical statues, do you know what they're used for? I can tell you who has them. It's dozens of different NGOs. It's difficult to say exactly who, but what is sure, for instance, we worked with an NGO, a non-profit that does inclusion through sports and skateboard. So we also wanted to make sure that there was a link with the different topics that were showed on the Place de la Concorde. Since this morning, we've talked a lot about proud, and you mentioned it, Catherine, proud to participate from the side matter or really at the heart. Did it change something for you teams to be able to say that they participated beyond the mere sponsorship? Well, in our company, since we made sure that the activity, that our business to be the manager of a network and the objectives to make sure that all the sites were plugged to the grid, it created a lot of pride. We have 40,000 employees at Enidis. We have a little rating to see how much people were happy with the games. And we did a little survey with all of our employees, but it's incredible. We had 77% of our employees who say they are proud to have taken part in that extraordinary adventure. And 95% say that the games were a success. And so you will bring us the remaining 5%. Of course, there are people that are irreducibly not happy, but they understood what we were doing through that partnership. To me, this is a huge success. And then on the 40,000 people, there's maybe only 1,000 approximately actually took an active part. So this means it's absolutely great. And there was the whole motivation part. For instance, we had an electrical event stations on the Place de la Concorde and at the Trocadero. So it's a stand where there's no client. It's just where usually there's just traffic there. But quite regularly, there are fashion shows, there are events, fireworks shows. So these are electrical stations that can come from the ground up, where you can actually plug in your show. And this is a great innovation, and we're very proud of it. What did it change? What did the games change for you? This was actually a compass, because most of the startups, have a horizon that's 3 months, 6 months, and and we had to try to imagine what the company would be like for 2024. And it also brought everyone together inside of our ecosystem. It sped up developing the seats and also finding larger, wider range solutions. So in terms of pride, of course, we were very happy and we really supported the team. And today we see that this has future. We have an industrial capacity that can deliver seats. We have opened a second plant that is 4 times bigger. Our capacity has actually reached its limit. We can deliver everywhere in France. We worked also with Master Industry, another industrial company. We have manufactured 11,000, but we have actually now 30,000 that are going to qualify and that we will be able to deliver in the years to come. So there was a domino effect. It's brought the company to a completely different level. We talked about territories a lot. Now we are approached a lot since the games by companies in the US or other places that ask us to replicate what we were able to do here in the games. So this is a great project. Vincent Rambaud, there were a few obstacle constraints, limits that were met by Muto. How can you make sure that all of these changes and make sure that your approach is easier? The Olympic Games really made something come unstuck. You know, the event industry, the event sector is very linear. We build something that will not last. We throw them away, and then you buy the same thing, the same decor, just for a few days, just a few hours, sometimes just a few minutes. So there's a huge sustainability issue for materials. You know, it's increasingly rare, it's expensive, and also the volume of waste is huge. So the games showed that it's something that could be done at a scale that is incomparable to anything that had been done before. I'm not just talking about the spotlight that was put on Muto during the games, but a lot of players say that we have gone up one tier, one rank. We can't go back because the games have showed that for such a huge event with huge issues, bigger than anything else, it was possible. We showed that it was possible. There was also a cost issue, right? You can think that maybe it's simpler. Of course, here I'm playing the devil's advocate to throw everything in the garbage and just bin everything and do differently. It's true. Event waste is actually not that much. It's between 100 or 200,000 tons per year, compared to 10 times that for the building industry. So if you do the life cycle analysis, these 200,000 tons, there's no polluter payer, there's no constraints, there's no legal constraints to produce legal waste, which means that any solution to reduce waste always seem to be too expensive, given the fact that waste doesn't cost that much, and it is a structural issue that Paris 2024 circumvented by giving us a budget so we could do what we wanted to do. Thank you so much for those words. Catherine, a few words in conclusion. Yes, we really feel like something has happened in the event industry. We realized in the last 2 years we have an increasing number of festivals that come to us and say, we want to be plugged in, connected to the grid, because we have a carbon footprint to think of. We have Rock en Seine, Musique Villac, we had the championships, the downhill championship 2 years ago. So yes, something did happen. Now, I think it's up to us, all of us, the players, the stakeholders in the event industry, all the traditional stakeholders, to make sure that things continue to change, but in a sustainable, in the long term. Thank you so much to the award winner, to the 3 companies who are award winners. We'll see you again with all the award winners. So